How's everyone, Grant here, and welcome to Grant Likes Tech, where I share with you tech that I like. In this video, I'll walk you through the first 10 things you may want to consider doing if you just got a Redmi Note 9 Pro 5G or the brand new Xiaomi Mi 10i, since they're basically the same phone, so stay tuned. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. The first thing I suggest you doing is changing the display's refresh rate. Out of the box, it comes at 60 Hertz, and one of the main reasons and selling points of this phone is its high refresh rate at 120 Hertz. So by default, it's at 60. You're going to want to change that to 120 to get the maximum benefit if you want that smooth scrolling, and higher refresh rate if you like the game. Okay, and the second thing I suggest you taking a look at are the lock screen settings. And so there's a lot of options that Xiaomi provides here for lock screen. The first thing is raise to wake. By default, I believe this is on. So this can be helpful if you enable Face ID and you want to pick up your phone, have the display turn on, and you automatically look at it and just unlocks. That can be nice and useful, but I prefer to turn it off because sometimes it accidentally turns on and I don't want that to happen. So set that to your own preference. The next thing is double tap to wake. This I do like. This is turned off by default. I obviously enable it. And this is helpful because if you've got your display off and sitting on a table and you just want to check it, you can quickly double tap to check and see what's going on, and you can quickly just double tap to turn it off. So double tap to wake is definitely a useful feature that I like to leave on. Next is wake lock screen for notifications. I believe this is also on by default. I like to turn this off. This is very Apple iOS-like. Every time a notification comes in, your screen is going to light up. I personally don't like that, so I like to turn this off to save some battery, and I just don't like to see my screen always flashing at me. And the last setting here in lock screen settings that I suggest you take a look at is quick launch the camera. By default, that's off. I like to enable this because when your device is off, you can quickly double press the volume down button to jump right into your camera. Okay, moving on to the number 3 thing that I suggest you take a look at is the haptic feedback. So under sound and vibration, if you scroll down to haptic feedback, you can completely disable that if you don't like it, or you can adjust the level. So if you like it stronger or you like it weaker, you can adjust that right here. So that's a nice feature to have here on this device. And the number 4 thing that I suggest you take a look at is still here in sound and vibration, and that's going to be sound effects. So if you notice under sound effects, you have sound optimization options, and by default that's disabled. But once you plug in a pair of earbuds or headphones into the headphone jack, those options become enabled, and you can enable hi-fi audio, or you can actually go into things like adjusting sound to the specific earbuds that you have. Or there's also an equalizer that you can go in and actually adjust the sound profile to your liking. So there are some presets here, or you can just go ahead and adjust to a custom EQ setting of your liking. And so the 5th thing that I suggest you do is take a look at your notification shade options. So by default, if you look into notification shade, there's a group notification option. By default, this is on. What this does is group notifications into folders in your pull down shade here. So you'll have important and unimportant notifications depending on how you configure that in the app notifications. And so if you're not seeing notifications, this is also something that you might want to take a look at here. I just completely turn this off, so all notifications just show up in the notification shade just like they normally do on stock Android. Now, the 6th thing that I suggest you do is still in notifications, and that's here in Control Center and Status Bar. Now, MIUI provides this new Control Center option, and by default, your notification shade looks kind of stock Android-ish. But if you turn this on, this provides a different kind of a look and feel. This looks very Apple iOS-like. So if you prefer this kind of a look and feel, you can turn that on. I prefer to turn this off, but that's just something available there if you prefer to see the notification shade in that format. And then number 7 is also in your notifications options. I suggest you actually go ahead and customize your app notifications. So there's also ways that you can get your notifications. So if you're not seeing them on the lock screen or other places, make sure that these options are checked based off of how you like to see them. So lock screen notifications, floating notifications as they come in, or just number badges on your app icons. And of course, you can toggle these off if you don't like any of them. But also go into your app settings individually, especially if you don't think you're seeing notifications from specific apps. You'll go into your specific app and make sure that the options are checked. So even if you have not lock screen notifications enabled, it may not be enabled for that app. So make sure that's enabled there. And also, this phone has an LED light, and so most phones don't have that anymore. And if you want that app to blink the notification light for that app notification, make sure that it's toggled on as well. Moving on to number 8, which is the home screen options. So if you're not going to use a third-party launcher, you can give the MIUI launcher a try. By default, regular is turned on, and that's just going to provide all your icons as a grid of icons on the home screen. No app drawer. It's going to look a lot like an iPhone. But if you do want an Android app drawer, toggle that option on, and then you'll have that standard Android app drawer to swipe up. You can see all your apps and keep your home screen nice and clean. Now, other options here that you might want to take a look at and toggle on or off based off of your liking is the home screen search bar. So by default, that's on, and that's going to have that search bar at the bottom, but that uses their own search and AI and not Google. And so I prefer to just go back in here and actually toggle that back off to keep that clean and not worry about it at all. And you can see other options you might want to play with, set things like icon size. So if you go in here, you can just move to the specific icon size you want, or you can actually use the slider to kind of fine tune the size of the icons that you want. And the other thing are things like grid sizes, so home screen layout. I usually max it out to 5x6 to give you the most room and maximize the layout on your home screen. And there's a whole bunch of other options here that you can toggle on or off based on your liking. So number 9 is setting up your fingerprint sensor unlock or your face unlock if you didn't do that while setting up the phone. And so that's located in passwords and security. And you can enable the fingerprint unlock, face unlock, or both. And so if you didn't see my other video, I just wanted to show this off to you. It's really fast to set up and it actually works really well. So there's a side-mounted fingerprint sensor built into the power button there. And if you just tap on it, it unlocks the phone. And so this is usually tough, especially for lefties. And so I set up my middle finger and it actually works. A lot of times other side-mounted fingerprint sensors, trying to reach over with your middle finger and get that to recognize every time is a bit of a pain, and most of them don't really work. But this one's actually probably one of the better ones, if not the best one that I've actually tried. So it's really fast and it's pretty consistent. And obviously for right-handed people, the thumbprint will lie right on that fingerprint sensor pretty naturally. And it works just as fast. And also is face unlock. So if you don't want your fingerprint sensor, or if you just want another option, face unlock is pretty good. It works very fast on here. So if I just double tap to wake, immediately goes into my phone. So you can set it up so that it actually stays on the lock screen. So if you don't want to jump immediately into the phone and you want to unlock it and maybe see your notifications, you can just toggle that option to keep it on the lock screen. But the point is, face unlock here on the Note 9 Pro 5G is really fast. Like, you can't even tell that it's locking. It's just that fast. So face unlock is a nice option if you're always indoors. But of course, if you're going outdoors, especially in this time of the pandemic, it's really nice to have a physical fingerprint sensor that works pretty well. And lastly, number 10 is setting up your swipe gestures for navigation. If you're like me, I'm used to the Android swipe notifications, and by default, it has the on-screen buttons. So if you like those on-screen navigation buttons, don't worry about it. You don't have to do anything. But if you want to change it to the gesture swiping, go into additional settings, go into full screen display. And of course, by default, those buttons are at the bottom are enabled for navigation. Again, I like to go to full screen navigation just because I'm very used to that. So this gives you your standard navigation. So swiping to go back, swiping up to go to your home screen, up and pause to get to your recent apps. So if you like swipe notifications, that's how you enable them on this device. So there you go. Those are my 10 things I suggest you check and adjust on your brand new Redmi Note 9 Pro 5G or your Xiaomi Mi 10i. So if you have any other questions about this, or you want to see other software features, let me know. If you have any other questions or comments about this phone or the Mi 10i, the same device, drop them in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.